and welcome to another expert interview. I say the same thing to start them all. I'm super blessed with who I get to interview, and today is no exception. I know Brody and I are going to have an amazing conversation about events, and we have a lot of people in ACES who are speakers and authors and thought leaders and running groups, and it's going to be relevant for all of you. And so let's dive in. Brody, tell us who you are, man. Tell us what you do, and we'll get to it.
Hey guys, thanks so much for having me, Devin. Excited to be here. Yeah, so look, my name is Brody Lee. I run a company called eventsconsulting.co. Well, that's the brand. Our business underneath is called Beyond Impact. You'll see I'm wearing an impact shirt because we have this saying, what if every time we do business, something good happens in the world? And I believe the most powerful way that you can do that is by running live virtual events or selling on other people's stages. And so that's the business that we're in. I came to it because I used to run large events for Apple. I was training their leadership and executive teams on how to sell one to many. So Steve would do these big product launches and we'd have millions of people coming into the stores and we had this quality problem that our one-to-one sales model fell apart. And so we had to pivot quickly. And so I was part of a team that trained our leadership and executive teams on getting the store teams comfortable with how do I sell in front of 40 people? And how do I facilitate a sales conversation with 40 people, 50 people all at once? So I kind of had this like PhD style education in selling from stage from Steve and from the team at Apple. And then I pivoted into this business. We've been in business now for about 7 or 8 years with 400 events under our belt, 125 million in client revenue, 50,000 hours of stage time between us and our clients. And the most important part for me, though, that's all lovely. But when I spoke about impact before, 5 million lives impacted directly through our philanthropy. And the way I look at that is that there's 5 million more smiles in the world today because people showed up to our events. They were touched, moved, and inspired. And we gamify our events. So every time someone's touched, moved, or inspired, they take an action and we give. And so 5 million more smiles is in 8 years is remarkable. So very happy about that.
I love that. And we both got the t-shirt theme, so it's great. We're aligned on that because we're not showing up anywhere if we don't have our Who Can We Connect To a shirt on. So I love that you wore that. We're already best friends on that side. So let's talk. You have three buckets. You've got selling on other people's stages, live events, virtual events. Let's start with selling on other people's stages. I have a feeling that, people who are watching, listening, engaging with this are probably already speaking, are probably already doing that, but aren't converting. So give them some tips and tricks on, if you're doing a keynote, if you're on a stage, what should you be doing to actually get an ROI on that?
Yeah, so first of all, this is across all events. My biggest pet peeve with our industry is that anyone running an event, speaking on stage, for the most part, possibly not your audience, they're treating their audiences like an ATM. And that's we'll talk about this when we get to live events. I think that's a very specifically a bad example in the industry. And so your number one job there is to inspire people. You want them to leave like touched, moved, and inspired and feeling like I am the luckiest person because I got to listen to Devon speak today, to Daniel, to Gary, to Brody. I'm the luckiest person in the world. And I was the luckiest person in that room because they had a message that was right just for me. We have a whole methodology around this. It's called the stage method. S is for spark, so it's about sparking intrigue. T is for trigger, it's like triggering an emotion in people. A is for agitate, agitating that emotion a little bit, not in a nefarious way, but using neuroscience to get people like really engaged and really leaning into whatever their challenge is that you're trying to help them solve. Then you're guiding them towards the promised land, and then you're enrolling them obviously with your pitch as well. It's called stage. I developed this after training all of Apple's leadership and executive teams. Apple has their own methodology called Apple. I've modernized it for our industry, and this is essentially the whole premise here is that you're there to change someone's day. And so when we're talking about spark at the start, like your energy has got to like exceed the person that's spoken before you and the person that's coming after you, because you like no matter where you are speaking, right, you're competing with all of these other speakers and everything. And so you literally have about 7 seconds to actually get trust built with people when you step on stage. And so for me, and like everyone's different, but for me, I come in with a bang. Like that's my MO. I'm dancing. I've got the whole crowd with me. And because I'm trying to, there's something called the mirror neuron theory. I'm trying to get people to match my energy. Because I know that when people are in their body rather than in their heads, they're going to take action and they're more likely to do the thing that I want them to do, which is go to the back of the room and buy my stuff at the end of it.
Wow, there's a lot to unpack there. That was great. Let's go to the enroll side of it. So On the enroll, do you recommend a free offer, a discounted offer from Stage, a direct straight to your price? Do you recommend none of that and just buy my book? Like what's your best idea for that part?
There's no one size fits all for that, unfortunately, because you're often limited by what the event, the person who's hosting the event allows you to do from stage. In most instances, there's not very many people that will actually allow you to sell directly on their stage. And if you are finding yourself at an event where everyone is allowed to sell from stage, get away, go, run a million miles away from it because you're competing against all of these other offers. So, at our events, like I am the only person that's allowed to sell from my stage, bar one. And that one person that's a major sponsor for my event, they have to have a completely non-competing but complementary offer to what I'm doing. And they're limited by a certain amount that they're allowed to sell. Everyone else that speaks, if they do workshops, breakouts, all that sort of stuff, they are only allowed to lead collect. If you're thinking about building trust with people, do you, in this audience, say for example, you're on stage in front of 10,000 people, as an example, it's a very, very large stage, right? And do you want to be known as the person that just sold to them like everybody else? Or do you want to be known to them as the person that gave them an experience that made them lean in and go, holy shit, I need to learn more about this person? I'm gonna bank on you wanting to be that person, and that's where either just delivering straight value or straight value to some sort of a lead collect is going to be more beneficial for you over the long run than just doing a straight pitch to stage. That said, like I said, no one size fits all. It depends on the context. But I'm in the game of relationship building, and I would prefer to like build relationships with more people than a select group of people, and have relationships over the long term with them so that I can nurture them into becoming clients. I think you actually end up probably making more money if you lead collect as opposed to just making an offer on someone's stage.
Yeah, where's the mic? Like you need to get like a foam mic that you can just drop again and again as you're spot talking. But that I like teed you up, and I'm glad you went there because that's what we found is here's a free copy of my book, right? You can go here, they can sign in and get it. Here's my free community. It's all value. There's no catch. Again, they can opt in. Now you're nurturing them in a community. Like from stage now, I find that when I'm asked to keynote, the hosts love it because I literally sell nothing. It's just like, here's as many tools and value as I can give you.
Yeah,
And then what we're
yeah.
finding is now they're in our email sequence, they're in our community, they're engaged on LinkedIn, they're in these places. And then, yes, we're going to nurture over time and upsell. So I love that that's what you talk about because I think people are so worried about, I got to go to this event, I got to get this $10,000 sale. No, you need to go to the event, you need to capture data.
Yeah, and I think that there's something really, really important around this is for even people attending events. I was having a conversation with a client about this the other day, is that we all need to be trained at how to be better attendees at events. A lot of people just go, like even if you're not speaking on stage, right? They just go to passively consume information. No, no, no. I'm going to watch people sell. I'm going to be a nerd in the front row and go like, hey, what are they doing on stage? I'm going to connect with people, all of that sort of stuff. And so if you can be the person that facilitates connection for people as well. For example, in your keynote speech, if you get the audience engaging with each other and getting connected and getting value from each other, you're going to be far more memorable than the person that's just yelled at them for the past hour to buy their stuff. Similar to you, Devin, I went like a lot of my keynote speeches are actually repitches for clients. So I'll get up there and my job is to resell the client's offer, but I don't talk about the client's offer at all in my repitch. What I'm doing is I'm speaking to a vision or an identity that we want the audience to kind of embody in order for them to be able to take the next step in their life. And it's only at the end that I loop it into the actual product. And so when you're designing your speeches, and this is for everybody, is that if you're if you're focused on technical stuff, sure, important. People want that as well. But make sure you're adding in that transformational element as well about who the person is that they're going to become once they get the technical things, because otherwise it's just going to fall over deaf ears. And I want to be known as a transformation person. I want the person to be really super inspired by me. It'll be more memorable than someone that's just giving them some bite-sized tips and tricks on how to use AI or whatever it is.
Yes. All right, let's go to virtual events. We're going to hit all the buckets. So, virtual events, where do these fit in? When should you host one? Give me the beginning conversation first, then we'll dive in.
Yeah, so the beginning conversation is that if you are tapped out on one-to-one sales calls, your calendar is full, and you are looking at a way to move yourself out of one-to-one selling, virtual events are an incredible option. The second time that virtual events are an incredible option is if you have a sales team and the sales team are performing really, really well and you want to flood them with more leads, you run virtual events. Now, most sales teams initially, when they hear me say that, they go, "No, you're taking my sales and my commissions away from me." And I go, "No, I'm flooding you with." I just had a client that had 800 people at their virtual event. That's 800 leads that are pre-warmed for you guys to go and call now. So once we overcame that with this particular client's team, the first time we ran an event with them, the team were like, "Holy crap! Actually, no, this is phenomenal," and they're starting to build more commissions and whatnot. So if you're stuck selling one-to-one and you hate it and you need to get into a one-to-many model so that you can flood your offers with like more high ticket clients in one day than most people could probably do an entire year, that's one option. The other option is to go in when your sales team and when you're looking to expand and add in that additional revenue stream to what's already working from a sales point of view. Both work really, really well. You can do small events if it's yourself. You can do large events. Like there's kind of one of the things I love about virtual events is that there's no limits in terms of the number of people that you can have on. Tony Robbins did a 1.25 million person virtual event recently. I think Alex Hormozy is probably going to have about 1 million people on his launch when he's doing his money models thing this week. So the size of your room, so to speak, is only limited by the capacity on Zoom, essentially.
Love that. And I love that you talk about that capacity. And I think it's timely as we're recording this because Alex is killing us all with ads this week, right? So that is coming. Let's talk about length. So when we're hosting a virtual event, is there a right length? Is this multi-day? Is it 1 day? Is it an hour? Is it 90 minutes? Is there any right formula for that?
Depends on the size of your offer. So I have a formula that I use that basically for every hour that you are on stage, a beginner can add about an hour, about $1,000 to the size of the offer that they're making, roughly. Roughly. So if you're making an offer to an actual like product and you're going to do a full pitch, you're running a 4 hour event. If you're just getting started, a 4 grand offer would be the max that I would recommend. Obviously, if you're a bit more experienced, you're selling from stage. I'm doing a 3 hour event tomorrow. I'm selling a 10 grand offer, and so you get more experience and more runs on the board. If you're selling like your big high ticket product, like your 20 grand offer, you're either going to go for a short event and pitch to sales call, which most of us are probably trying to avoid, and so you'll go for a longer event, 2 days, for example, for a 20 grand offer. You'll be really, really well placed to be able to make that offer. And it also just depends on what your appetite of your market is as well. And I think this is something that a lot of people miss. Like, look at your ideal client. How much time do they really have to invest with you? If we're looking at somebody who's just getting started in business, they're going to go, "Yes, 2 days, awesome. I've got 2 days to spend." If you're looking at a 7, 8 figure plus entrepreneur and you're pitching to them to come on Zoom with you for 2 days, they're going to be like, "What the hell? Like, what is the ROI for me in doing that?" It's hard enough to get them to come to a live event to do that. When they're in a virtual event, they get distracted by all the other things in their business, and so you got to be like cognizant and aware of your audience and what they will buy into. Which is why I sit at 3 hour events at the moment because I work with multi 6 figure, 7 figure, 8 figure entrepreneurs, and 3 hours is a decent amount of time that they can invest. They feel good about it, and then we can get them to the promised land of buying our stuff and transforming their events.
Love it. In the virtual event space, are these you, one person hosting and speaking, or are you bringing in other people to speak to the audience as well, or is it both? Is there a right direction for
Yeah.
that?
Yeah, no right direction, kind of like whatever you want, whatever's going to be most valuable to your audience. I used to run an event called Impact, which we're now doing live next year. Funnily enough, I'm wearing the Impact shirt, the same shirt I wore at that event. My very first $1 million event was a virtual event. And I had myself as the main speaker, and I had another keynote speaker on the second day that was all about impact. It was totally unrelated. It was our philanthropic partner. I've been at events where there've been like multi-speaker virtual events as well, where it's just like multiple different people come on. I might be a bit biased here, but my events are conversion events. And the way that I look at it is that my offer is the one that I want to convert. So I don't want to confuse people with too many voices. I'll bring in the right person to help me to achieve my outcome. If it's appropriate, but I'd prefer to just have me on there. And so that's what we recommend our clients. Like, you're the expert, you're the prize. The other thing on this as well, just keep in mind, is that you are the authority. And this is what differs for people speaking on other people's stages. This is what differentiates speakers from authorities is that you can go and speak on somebody's stage and have your hour of power and everything, and then you step off and then you're kind of done, right? But if you are hosting an event, you've got people there for multiple days and you are the host, that means you are the authority. Think about those stages you speak on. The event host is the authority. So, do you want to be just a blip on someone's radar as a cool speaker that they listen to at somebody's event? Or do you want to be somebody that is known as the authority in the category of one, which is what we're working with our clients to achieve? Um, all like there's nothing wrong with either of them. It's just about what your desire is. My goal though is when I work with speakers is to enroll them in the possibility of what if they spoke on their own stages because they're infinitely more profitable than if they were speaking on other people's stages.
Talk to me about paid, free, price point. Are these free events? Should people pay? How are they opting in? Give us some wisdom there.
Oh my God, I hate this question because it changes. Like it changes across niche, it changes across audience, it changes across everything. Look, everyone's got their own ideas in mind. Like all of my competitors will tell you this way is the right way to do it, this way is the right way to do it, blah blah blah. Honestly, I haven't found anything that like sticks or follows the rules. I like free events work really, really well. I just had a client event last week. We had like 800 people. It's a free event. It went really, really well. And this is somebody that's like an eight-figure business, and everyone's like, "Oh no, you should be charging for this event." Sure, we could have charged it possibly, but we wanted to go wide. It kind of depends on what your outcomes are. Here's what I will tell you: people that pay tend to show up more, and they tend to be better quality people. But volume comes out of free. And so you've got to kind of like weigh up what your outcome is. And once you've done about three events using one model, either paid or free, you'll know what your numbers are. And it doesn't really matter at that point whether it's paid or free because you've got your numbers. You can reverse engineer with near certainty what you're going to accomplish. I did see this the other day from a competitor, and I think he's right. Is that he said that he tested $0 events, $7 events, $97 events, and $197 events across a 5 year period. And the ones that performed best were the $7 events, which blew my mind. But when I think about it, he's like, there was no difference between $7 versus $97 in terms of show ups. The only difference is that you had more people buy the $7 ticket. So you actually had more people live. So I haven't personally tested that. Like I've come in across the spectrum on everything. And honestly, I just run free events now for myself, but everyone does things differently. The other thing as well, obviously, if you have more authority, if like you are like say a Alex Hormozy, he could charge like Russell Brunson charges. I think he charges like $97 for one of his events. They can do that because of their authority, right? And people will pay and all that sort of stuff. One of the things to factor in here is your liquidation on your ad spend. And so how we liquidate on ad spend is by VIP upsells on the back end or a small dollar on the front end, nominal amount for the ticket. So $7, $27 or whatever it is. And then that can help you from a liquidation point of view so that you're not behind before you've begun. I'm very, very, very passionate about ensuring that like even with live events as well, that you are cost neutral at least or profitable before the event has even begun so that you're not relying on your pitch to make up the difference because you could totally bomb that and that would be horrible if you did it. So yeah, we work with every client on this in a different way and see what their appetite is, see what their audience is like, see what their market responds to, and we kind of work it out from there.
Talk to me about the marketing. So you just teased it. That was gonna be my next question. So let's go there. Can we just use our current list? Can we use our social reach? Should we be doing paid ads? Like what are you seeing working and getting people to show up?
Absolutely. You should use any and all marketing tools that you have the ability to do. Meaning that if you have the capacity to run ads, absolutely run the ads. Think about this is that let me just step back for a second. For those of you who are not running ads at the moment and you have an organic reach, you've got like a list, you've got an organic following. There are people in your audience right now, if you are not running events, that are waiting for you to put something on and they're waiting to spend some time with you. The most important currency in terms of being able to get clients is time on brand. And those people who have been like watching you in silence for a little bit are just probably waiting for you to say, "Hey, I'm getting a bunch of people together on Zoom to help them do X. Do you want to come?" And those people will be your initial spurt for sure. They will be great. But the organic leads list and leads fatigue over time if you're not refreshing them with new leads. And so I do want people eventually moving into paid ads. I had a client this morning, we had 600 people on an event that we did from paid advertising. She was getting them, she was doing it. She did a phenomenal job. This is in a business niche. She was getting registrations at £5 per pop, which is unheard of for a business event. Normally it's, we're looking at like 20, $30 per registration. So she did a really great job. But your audience size massively increases, obviously, with ads. As you know, you've got a machine out there working for you to put you in front of people that have never seen or heard of you before. So I want that machine working as quickly as we possibly can with your events, but not necessary for the first one. Use your existing audience to validate, and then you put the paid ads behind it.
Talk to me about the upsell model. So you were saying like even if you're doing a free event, there's still ways that you're trying to capture revenue. Is the VIP, is that only for live events, or are there versions of that for virtual events too?
No, there's versions of that for virtual events as well. So normally what we do if we're doing, say for example, a $97 VIP upsell on a virtual event, we'll include things like the recordings. They might get something like some special access to some resource that's like really awesome. And the one that we're finding helps to sell a lot of that is a special session, a VIP session with the with the guru, with me, at either immediately after the event or like a week later. I like putting some time between it. And the reason why is because that VIP session is just another opportunity for you to sell. You know the old adage, make more offers, get more clients. So you run this VIP session that they get exclusive access to you. You normally charge $5,000 per hour for coaching, but they get to ask you like get one-on-one coaching in a group setting for 90 minutes. Everyone goes, oh wow, that's awesome. And everything you do at that VIP session is, yeah, you support them, you answer their questions, and you redirect them to your offer. Hey, we go through this in a lot more detail in the X program. Why don't you jump on the phone with us and we'll make sure you have a plan, etc., etc. So everything always comes back to your offer. So what I would say is that the VIP, when you're designing a VIP for a live experience or an in-person or a virtual experience, is that how does it link people back into your offer? How does it loop people back around so that you've got more opportunities to make more offers to them, because the people that are buying that VIP stuff are warmer than people that are just registering for the event. And so you want to nurture them as much as you possibly can. By the way, the stuff that you're giving away in your VIP should feel ridiculous. And we were just talking about this before we came on air. Like I'm making an offer tomorrow. It's not even the VIP part of the offer. It's just part of the offer. And I'm like, I can't believe I'm giving this away. You should be really willing to part with your best stuff to show people how incredible you are, how awesome your IP is, and how giving you are with your stuff. And then that builds a lot of trust in terms of, and helps people prime people like, wow, if this is what they're getting on the outside, what's it going to be like on the inside working with you as well?
Man, there's so much in here. Like I want to go so deep because I love the event space. But Daniel, let's get your question. I like the way you framed this. So, what's the first question speakers need to answer if they want to speak on their own stage versus keynotes events? So I think we're trying to decide like, what is that differentiator between hosting and being on other people's? Give us some insight there, Brody.
Preference, period. Preference, period. I don't think that there's any hard or fast, so you must do it this way first, this, that, or the other. It's purely preference. If you don't feel like you have the appetite to put on your own event yet, go on other people's stages. If you want to create yourself as a category of one and be an authority, make your own stage. And be the person that speaks and that hosts it. It really just comes down to your preference and your appetite for where you're at in your business growth. Um, Also, this is a really good point to kind of bring up here, is that a lot of people, when they hear the word event, their sphincters tighten and they go, oh, I couldn't think of anything more. There's too much work. There's too much everything involved in this. I don't want to do it. I'll just stick to what I'm currently doing. Um, and that's because I think people look at people like Tony Robbins and Alex Hormozy and go, I must do an event like them my first time. My first event that I ran, this is in, when was this? It's like early 2018. Um, I ran this event. I had a Facebook, I boosted a Facebook event. I was so green. I didn't know anything about advertising. I was new to the industry. It was my first few weeks in business. I boosted the Facebook event and 40 people said they were coming. So like, sweet. I got the room and everything, and quarter to seven, no one was there. 7 o'clock, no one was there. 7:15, one person like wandered in wondering if he was lost. He was in the right place, but nobody else came. Now, I was mortified, thinking my whole life is about to end. I wanted to walk out of there. But I sat down and I facilitated the content and I walked away with $20,000. And the lesson here for everyone is that you don't need to have 1,000 people in the room to be able to have a really profitable event. You could have just 10 people in the room that have all paid $1,000 to be there, and they've literally paid you for the privilege of you pitching to them, which is essentially what happens when you're selling tickets to an event. People are paying for the privilege of you pitching to them. And so you don't need to do these massive events. And so often, like one of the objections that I have to overcome with people, they're like, oh, I think I'll just speak on other people's stages first. It's too much for me to do my own event. You can whip up your own event in an Airbnb with a Google Doc selling it, and that's all it needs to be. I've had some of my most profitable events that I've sold via a Google Doc and had people in an Airbnb. So yeah, I look at like sorry, Devin, sorry, Daniel. In answer to your question, it's personal preference, but I'm biased towards make your own events personally.
Love it. Let's talk live events, and then Gary has given me some other questions that I think are great, but I want to make sure we capture live events. So pivoting to live events, when do those fit in? Who's that right for? Give us again kind of the ground floor for live events.
Yeah, okay. So first of all, what I want to say to everyone here is that I believe that the live event industry sucks, like royally sucks in our space. And I think it sucks for a variety of reasons, but the number one reason is that people treat their participants like they are an ATM. They're just their personal ATM. They're there to give me money. They get up on stage and then they present content, and then it's like, buy my shit, buy my shit, buy my shit, buy my shit. And it's just like, it's exhausting. Run to the back of the room, rah, your whole life's going to end and you'll explode unless you do this. Like that straight line selling crap from yesteryear has gone. What I'm really passionate about, and this is what I'm doing in the US market. I'm new to the US. I moved here a year ago. We're just kind of spinning up, and I've spent a year working on, nice joint venture relationships, getting like well known in terms of the authorities in the space. But what I'm doing now is that I'm going to revolutionize the way that we do events in our space because people do them so poorly at a time when it's critical for us to nail them. I'm running an event called Impact Revolutions Disguised as Gatherings. And the reason why I've called it Revolutions Disguised as Gatherings is because if you think about throughout human history, anything that's important that has ever happened in terms of moving the human race forward, it's happened at an event. The labor movement, the suffragette movement, abolition, segregation, racial justice, equality, everything, Martin Luther King, Gandhi, JFK, we're going to the moon. Those events really shaped how we do things. One more thing, Apple. Hey, I've got an electric car that's coming out to the market. Tesla, right? These pivotal things in terms of our progression as a species happened when good people came together. We have been gathering as a species, we've been gathering to connect, to communicate, and engage in commerce for 300,000 years, ever since we went from chimps into walking, talking humans, right? It's hardwired into our DNA. And so when people come and step into a room, I think about the costs associated with them being there. Yes, there's the immediate cost of the ticket for sure, the accommodation, yes, the flights, absolutely. But then there's also the costs associated with in terms of the time cost, like physical time. We're only here for a finite time. They could choose to be anywhere else in the world, but they're choosing to be in your room. The second one is the opportunity cost. They could be working on their business right now, doing things that are going to give them a more immediate ROI than coming and listening to you. And so they've invested that opportunity cost of being there because obviously you've promised them some kind of value. And the third one, and I think probably the most important one here, is the relational cost of being away from their friends, their families, and their communities at a time when connection is so important as a species. We are seeing right now the biggest shift in technology that we've seen since the dot-com boom. It's a little bit like the Wild West at the moment. I remember those early dot-com days where it was really exciting. We didn't really know who was going to win. Things were popping up everywhere, and it was like crazy. And that's what's happening with AI right now. But what we're seeing is, these amazing devices that I helped Apple become $1 trillion company through teaching their teams how to sell one-to-many. These devices and the AI supply of human connection is dwindling, like dwindling. And as it dwindles, demand for it is increasing. So over the next 3 to 5 years, with everything that's happening with AI, all of the disruption, the in-person experience, I think, will probably far exceed every other acquisition model on the market. And so, with all of this in mind, when I say that events are done really, really poorly, because of all of that, when you enter my room, I want you to feel like you've entered a different world. And that everything that's out there, all of the chaos, all of the thoughts, reasons, and considerations why you shouldn't be here today, strip away. And that I'm holding you when I'm on stage. Like, I have a deep respect for the craft of speaking. I hold you in the palm of my hand for those 3 days that you're at my event. I'm going to want to make sure that that experience is like nothing else that you've ever experienced. Now, does that mean that you need to put on a big production like Tony Robbins? Absolutely not. Although it does help if you have budget to do cool things like that. But what I mean is that your event experience needs to be curated around activation zones, meaning that instead of just having a monotone speaker talk at you like I have been for the last 3 minutes, what you want is something that's so engaging for people that they're connecting with their peers, they're communicating, they are stepping outside of the world that they are in. What you will find is if you respect that and if you're very intentional around it, people are much, much, much more likely to hand over their credit card at the end of it. And I'm not saying you do it for the sake of the credit card, although that's really happy and nice when you make money. You do it because the industry needs it. There's a lot of yahoos and a lot of people out there at the moment that are just swindling people online. And look, I respect everyone who's trying to make ends meet, is hustling and grinding, right? I get it. But for you to have the impact that you claimed, that you set out into business to have, first for yourself, your loved ones, your community, and then the world, like, live events are the only place where you can do that at the scale and with the effectiveness that I think is necessary right now. One last thing before I let you ask me another question. The other piece on this as well is if you are thinking about the internet marketing strategies that we all use today in order to be able to get clients, they have only been around for the last 25 years. Only been around for the last 25 years. Events as an acquisition strategy have been around for 300,000 years. And there's a reason. There's two examples here. One of these examples gets me in a lot of trouble, but I like using it because it's a good example. So the church has been running the same event every Sunday in millions of locations around the world for 2025 years, and everyone gives over 10% of their salary, and the dude who started it's dead. Now, they are, you're laughing here, they are the most effective events organization in the world. And they know something that the internet marketing strategies miss. And that is the deep human connection, that we're hardwired, we're tribal, we need to be in connection with people. And the second example here is, why would Tony Robbins be running the same event for the last 40 years? Exactly the same event. Anyone who's at any big name in our industry has done it through live events. So we've been blessed with the tech of being able to do this sort of stuff virtually since 2020, et cetera, et cetera. But the next 3 to 5 years, man, I think that if you're not running events, you're going to be like left in the cold.
Love that. And Daniel, I think you appreciated that. Laugh as much as I did. That was amazing, Brody. And I love those analogies because it's true. It was all fact, right? Talk to me about budget. This is something that I could see being a follow-up question, right? Is if I'm going to do a live event, it feels expensive. It feels like there's a lot going on. Should you have a budget in mind before you even lean into doing a live event?
Yeah, so, I love this topic because I think people do this wrong and they go into the red before the event has even begun, and that's not the way to do it. You can be very strategic about this. So let me talk about, if you are just starting out, the easiest way to run a profitable event that's profitable before it's even begun, before it's been you've made your offer, is to put people in an Airbnb, get like 5 to 10 people in the place with you. You charge them $1,000 for the ticket, for example, and then you also charge them to stay in the house, and the house is paid for. All of your event costs are neutral, and you're actually probably profitable. You get them some meals off Uber Eats or whatever. Great little mastermind. When you're flipping that into a live event scenario, into a larger event scenario, you need to be a little bit more strategic and careful about where you're spending your money. And so I love using sponsors to offset the pre-event costs. So say, for example, an event planner, your AV, your food and beverage minimums. I want all of those paid for. Even sometimes like the room block as well. If I can get that paid for by sponsors before people have even purchased tickets, Amazing, amazing. The room block may be the optional one there because obviously that's dependent on people. But like if you can get those other things covered, your ad spend, all that sort of stuff, before you've even sold a ticket, incredible. At the very least, you need to know what your cost per head is, so you know what the minimum is that you can have people in the room for ticket wise, in order to be able to have all of your costs covered, so that you're not in the red before you start. Yeah, that's my answer.
Great. Yeah, let's plow through some questions. Gary gave me some good ones. I do want to hit some of these. So, with so much time on stage, have you seen changes in the audience because of today's short attention spans?
1,000%, 1,000%. In fact, in movies, you'll notice that action movies are putting more and more and more action things that interrupt and do pattern interrupts closer and closer and closer together. I think at the moment, they think the average is that they do something big to change your attention every 7 minutes in a movie. So if you think about that, people are sitting down in a movie theater where they don't have their phones, right? And they're getting a pattern interrupt every 7 seconds. What's happening when they're in a room with you and they do have access to their devices and phones? So you got to really work with your audience here on setting the right tone and the expectation for the event. I used to be very, very militant, like phones away, rah, rah, rah. I've given up on that. It can't happen. But the way in which you pre-frame the value that they're going to get out of being there and being present, and you pre-frame what's available to them if they are fully present, is very, very important. Also helps you with your pitch as well. If you're convincing people to be present, then they're hearing every word that's carefully engineered to come out of your mouth so that they buy. And the other thing as well is uh, the other thing that I think that people sometimes miss with this in terms of audience is that a lot of people are not necessarily coming to the event for you or for the stuff that you're presenting on screen. They're coming for the connections. And so if you schedule in, there's three things to schedule in. Obviously, there's the knowledge, the stuff that's coming from stage. You got to schedule in connection time with their peers. And I schedule in work time as well. And I say to them, I say, we're going to have a break for X number of minutes so you can go and do the work that you need to do. It's actually a work block. And in that way, it frames up that they're going to be paying attention for the rest of it. The other thing I'd say from an audience point of view, and this is across all events, but specifically online stuff, is that people are more skeptical and reticent to make a purchasing decision immediately than ever before. And the reason for that is just that we've carpet bombed the market over the last 5 years. We had a massive influx of 2020 of people that possibly shouldn't have been in our industry, but were in a position where they needed to be because of what was happening in the world. And I think the water's kind of run out now, and a lot of people have been caught with their pants down. And a lot of people have been associated with those people that now have their pants down, and they've made a lot of decisions that have burnt them essentially. And so trust is I hate when people say we're at a trust deficit or a trust recession. I don't necessarily think that that's what it is. I think we're in an experience recession because we've moved so much online that the ways in which we used to engage people where they would actually spend time with us, as opposed to a 45-minute call where we bludgeon them into giving us their credit card details. I think these days, and I think that this is why live events are going to be so important. Like, given the choice between making a purchasing decision in a 45-minute sales call versus 3 days live with somebody in a room, I know which one I'm going to be more likely to purchase myself. And so, again, back to my thing in terms of audiences, because of all of those distractions and things that you are competing against, this is why I talk about live events. You better create something that's so special that creates something and a desire within them to be fully present at the event. And so you need to orchestrate those moments in so that they can do life, but also be present with you so that they can have the transformation, buy your stuff, all those sorts of things.
Is there a strategy for establishing authority as a new speaker? So, someone who's kind of new to the speaking event hosting world, are there some tips and tricks to become authority quicker?
Runs on the board is number one, meaning the more reps you do, the better you're going to be at all of that sort of stuff. And so the more events that you run, even if they're just little like master classes, that sort of stuff, just keep doing them, keep doing them, keep doing them. The other piece in terms of authority is to borrow other people's authority. What I mean by that is that put yourself in an environment where somebody is of a very, very, this is why speaking is good in terms of getting your name out there, putting yourself in an environment where there's somebody that has authority that that you can get through like authority through association. The other piece on this is that if you have an anchor client, we call them, somebody that is a big name in the industry that you've been able to work with, or you have some authority from your past, that really helps to build authority when you're just starting out. It's really funny, I'm like, what, almost 8 years into this now. And it's only in the last 3 or 4 months that I'm actually fully leaning into my Apple experience because I was at an event and about 20 minutes into for me introducing myself, I mentioned that this is what I used to do for Apple. And he's like, dude, you should have led with that. Like, that's the authority, not the fact that, that you had this big experience and, you had your, like, you almost died and everything like that. It's like that you helped the largest organization in the world sell one to many. Of course, people are going to fall over themselves to help out with that, to be around you with that. But if I think about anchor clients as well, like there's things like I worked on Tony Robbins events for 2 years. Early on, I wasn't a paid employee, I was a volunteer, but early on, I borrowed the authority of that, and I kind of marketed myself as, hey, I've worked on Tony Robbins for a couple of years, events for a couple of years, and then like in the US market for me this year, like I'm an unknown, and so I've worked with people like Taylor Welch, Alaric Heck. Who else? I helped a presidential candidate design their announcement. They were running for president that was a few years back, but I still talk about that. And there's a whole range of other people that we've now worked with, and that sort of authority comes from, like I said at the beginning, it runs on the board. So put yourself in the environment, find somebody that you can anchor yourself to, and get on their stage or get them as a client, and then that will help with your authority. I could give you a list of 400 different organizations that we use for that now, and blast it everywhere. Oh, sorry, one last thing on this, just because it's relevant for my situation, is don't lie to yourself about your experience. I played really small on this Apple stuff. I worked with them for 8 years. And my job was to train their teams. It was a huge deal, right? And I minimized it and I didn't do anything about it. You'll see my marketing now. I've fed 1,000 hours of Steve Jobs selling from stage through our AI and produced the Steve Jobs Sales Bible. I would never have thought of doing that 4 years ago because somebody highlighted to me a blind spot that I was missing. And that was actually you have this insane authority behind you beyond your 1,400 events, 125 million in revenue. So I'm like, okay, cool. That's it.
All right, last question, and then we'll have you tell people how they can connect with you. This question goes back to where we started with impact and what you're doing when the do good side of things. Let's go deeper there. When you talk about do business, but something good happens, like what does that mean? What is that good? Give us the insight there on what you're doing in the world.
Sure. Yeah, I'm glad that we get to end on this. I can speak to the cows come home around the strategy and the science of events and everything. But the thing that really gets me going and my juices going is like it's great to create impact, and we're all here to do that. It's awesome to create wealth, and we're absolutely all here to do that. I believe it's your duty to be filthy rich. Wealth has a bad rap at the moment, but it's what you do with the money that counts and the contribution that you make with that cash. So we use the money that we make as muscle to invest in worthy causes that we care deeply about. What that looks like is that at our events, we gamify the event so that our participants are involved in the process. I'll give you an example. A virtual event, if this was being run as a virtual event right now, at the very beginning, I would have pre-framed with people and said, hey, can I get everyone please to type the word impact into the chat? And then it flies off, impact, impact, impact. They don't know why they're typing it yet, but I'm getting them into the habit of typing it in. Then I say, okay, cool. Well, today we're going to do something really awesome. You're going to get a ton of value. I'm going to give you everything. You're going to learn like everything I have. I'm not going to leave anything on the table. And I need something from you though, because every single time you are touched, moved, or inspired, you have a breakthrough, you learn something new, something excites you, or you just want to do good. I'm going to donate 1 week of clean drinking water to families in need. And here's my invitation to all of you. Abuse the chat. Abuse it. And then it starts popping off. And what it does is it's a subtle reminder throughout. We're just doing good, which is in our DNA, and we love that. But it's a subtle reminder to people that their immediate challenges that they've got at the moment, they can step out of those challenges and support other people just by typing the word impact into the chat. And often I think that we get into the trap of being lost in our own thoughts and our minds and the problems that are in front of us. And so if I can pattern interrupt by getting someone to type the word impact in, knowing that they're going to give a week of clean drinking water to a family in need, it's really, really powerful. And it gets people way out of the body into the problems that they're currently having. So that's one side of it. We use a company called B1G1 that allow you to basically through their APIs, like you send an email, a meal gets donated if that's what you want. They have over 500 causes. Somebody signs up as a client. I don't know, you could plant 100 trees, whatever it is, you can kind of build into your business. And so we've done it with the events. And but this has expanded into a much larger thing for me, and that's about 2.5, 3 years ago now, I randomly posted on my Facebook that one day I was going to run an event in space. And it was like a ha 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 moment. I wasn't thinking anything of it. But what happened was a week later, a client sent me an article about a hotel that they're building in space. And I was like, shit, this is no longer a harebrained idea. This is a plan. I got to follow through on this. And so originally, I was building out for 6 months. I'm going to take a bunch of people up. We're going to do an event in this hotel. It's going to be amazing and it'll be cool. Then after a while, I kind of like, hang on a second, like, rich white dude goes to space. That story has been told. It's been told 3 times over at that point. And two of those people, everyone either loves them or hates them. So Elon or Bezos, right? And then the other one is like the cool uncle, Richard Branson, right? And that's awesome for them to have been able to do that. But and they're moving the human race forward. But I'm like, I don't want to be a part of that club. I think there is something different that we can do that's going to be more powerful and more impactful. So for 6 months, I went away and I started talking about it. And what I figured and what I realized was that there was a way in which that we could do this that would unite all of humanity around a common goal. And the numbers are staggering. 80% of the world's population live on less than $10 per day. The top 1% have 5 times more wealth than the bottom 80% combined. 75% of the world's wealth is concentrated in the top 20%. When you look at those numbers, it's really easy for you to be disheartened and go crap, but it's actually the best we've ever been. It's actually the best. We are the wealthiest we've ever been as a species. Is inequality rising? Yes. Do we need to do more? Absolutely. But governments have been an abject failure at making that possible. And so we, as a business community, need to step up for our fellow species. And so this is what we landed on. We are creating the world's largest ever modern day live aid. So, in the 80s, they did this massive concert to raise money for AIDS. And, Bono and all these people and stuff like that were up there. Well, we're going to do that, but we're going to do it and we're going to broadcast from this hotel in space. And when we do this broadcast from space, we're going to do personal development. We're going to do hard-hitting stuff about social justice issues. There's going to be entertainment like in Live Aid and those sorts of things. And the goal is we're going to raise $10 billion for worthy causes. I'm going to heavy sovereign wealth funds. I'm going to heavy governments. I'm going to ask for small donations from everyday people. Small dollar donations, look at all the political candidates, that's actually where they get a lot of their money from. Like most of the money comes from everyday donors, right? So if we can get the world behind this, that $10 billion, I will then invest into what's called a humanity future fund. It's a concept that I've made up. And the goal is unlike a sovereign wealth fund, which is only for the people in a particular country, a humanity future fund is actually for all of humanity. And that $10 billion will be invested into the capital markets. And based on historical returns, we will see between 600 million and $1 billion growing. That 10 billion will grow by that every single year. And so basically, every year forever, so long as the markets keep growing, even when they dip, they end up growing again, right? But so long as we don't have like a full financial collapse, $1 billion every year forever will be able to be donated to worthy causes from one event that we broadcast from space. We get to take 280 people up there as well. And so we're going to make it equitable. We're going to take up people who traditionally wouldn't get access to going up. And this is kind of like my moonshot must do before the end of my life thing. I'm hoping that'll happen within the next 10 years.
Love it. Tell people how they can connect with you. What's the best way to reach out? How can they get into your world? What free stuff can they plug into? What event? Whatever.
Okay. Would you guys like the Steve Jobs Sales Bible? So it's over 50 pages of broken down, like it's basically gold, neuroscience gold of Steve Jobs selling from stage. So I'm going to give everyone in your audience a copy of that. Normally I would make you jump through a hoop and come to one of our events to get it, but I want to make sure that you guys get a copy of that. So everyone here will get a copy of that. We'll give you a link for it as well, completely free. And it's over 1,000 hours of his stuff. It's insane. In addition to that, you can reach us at eventsconsulting.co or Brody Lee Live across all socials. My Facebook is It's Brody Lee. I'm trying to build up a new Instagram. Brody Lee Live is. I would love followers there. Follow me on that, please. It's a new one we're spinning up. But yeah, and look, I run events every month. I run 3 different events: stage selling secrets, virtual event secrets, and live event secrets. And so you're welcome to come to those anytime as well, and we'll give you the links for that too.
Love it. Brody, thank you so much. I want to respect your time, so we will stop here. But there's so much value in here. If you're just catching the end of this, make sure you drop a like, a comment, depending on the platform you're on. If you're in ACES, tag, shout out, tell someone to watch this. Grab the links, get the content. Brody, you're a rock star, brother. I appreciate you.
Thanks so much. It's been great to be here.